Welcome to the Toucan Talks podcast, where we bounce from topic to topic with our guests to give you an inside look at their life as a business owner. No question is off limits as we talk about what has led to the successes, the challenges, and more.
And this podcast is brought to you by Kickstart Studios. Kickstart Studios is Wilmington's newest video podcast studio. Equipped with multiple camera angles and an in-house producer, creating a high-quality video podcast has never been easier. Don't let the tech and gear learning curve hold you back from jumping into podcasting or created video content any longer. Our team takes care of it all for you so you can focus on the message you want to share. You simply show up, record, and receive the final product. No more wasting time setting it up and breaking down the gear, setting up lights, or doing sound checks on your own. Our in-house producer will have everything set up and ready to go for you. So check us out at Kickstart Studios.
Welcome to the Toucan Talks podcast. Today's guest is Jon Carne from Port City Apparel. You also have, is it 2 or 3 other?
2.5.
2.5. Perfect. I love it. So Socco, and then I'm going to check my notes. Legacy Knitting. Yep. And they're all based here in Wilmington.
Based here in Wilmington.
Awesome.
Yep.
And you and your wife have been in business for, is it 30 years in the apparel industry, or give or take?
Yeah. So we actually, we got married, started, we both were employed previously, but in 1997 we got married, bought a house, and started a business. So 26, I'll go with this, our 27th year.
Awesome. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. If you want to give us just a quick breakdown of each company and
sure.
Go from there.
So obviously they're all in the apparel business, and people always ask us what does apparel entail? Yeah. So I'll start with the sock companies because they're the simple ones. Yeah. They just make socks. And now we're starting to get into beanies. So Socco is our USA made sock brand. And when you say USA made, we try to incorporate the yarn, the boxes, the plastic bags, the hooks. The process is completely USA made, which is getting more and more difficult. Yeah. Then we have the company that is the parent company of Socco, which is called Legacy Knitting. Okay, cool. Legacy is a knitter for a tremendous amount of brands. We do high-end brands. Mm-hmm. We also do everything from breweries to insurance companies or energy companies. So socks and custom beanies. Nice. Port City Apparel is our decorating company. So decorating apparel would mean anything promotional, any type of wearable, or everything from a Yeti to a tote bag. Nice. And then JMJE is our original company, which is a manufacturing company, and it's all these other businesses were the offshoot of that. Cool. And it is a pure manufacturer. So that's where the machinery came from and the know-how. Cool. And that's where we are today.
Nice. Y'all aren't busy at all.
No. Yeah. So and people ask all the time, like, why separate? Yeah. And so when we started, we were working with some big brands. Mm-hmm. So our main customers were Hard Rock with JMJ, Universal, which is not just the music side, but also the entertainment side, and then Disney. Yeah. And those companies didn't want to know that we were working with a gas station or whatever, Yeah. So at the end of the day, Port City Apparel was created to go after auto dealers, and just all of the types of businesses that would need that product, right? That it wouldn't need to be custom made. We could brand other brands apparel. Gotcha. And then the sock companies were an idea that came out of 2008. Nice. The economy took a big hit. Yeah. So a lot of our business was with entertainment-based brands and companies, and we had to come up with something that would sustain itself. Yeah. So you started this podcast. We started a sock company, hoping. Yeah, we'll see what happens. So it's been a labor of love, but that's where that came from.
Awesome, very cool. Well, sweet. I think what we'll do is I will explain how this game works, and then we can jump into our lovely can of questions. Great. So basically, all you're gonna do is drop a coin. And if it lands on a 1, I will draw a question out of the business can. And if it lands on a 2, this will be our party can. Okay. Lots of random fun fun things in there. And before I get started, I'm going to just shout out our sponsor for this month, which is More Than Clay, which is where this beautiful mug came from.
Very cool.
Cameras.
Beautiful.
All angles. Yes. So you can find More Than Clay on Instagram at More Than Clay, online at morethanclay.com, and use code, get it, Toucan, like the bird. Where's my bird? Like the bird. Not the can, for 10% off. So that's for a limited time. So if you guys want some pottery, now's the month to do that. All right. I think that's good for housekeeping. Let's do it. So anywhere on the board.
Is there a favorite?
It seems like every guest will like find a spot and then it will always land on the same number.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens. And that, I was about to warn you, that does happen.
Okay.
I think.
I'm going to go further over.
Yeah, I think our count is up to 5. So you're going to beat our score. See, this is why people invest in those fancy Etsy boards we were talking about before we started recording. There we go. All right, starting out with a fun one.
Okay.
All right. All right. And I probably should, we do have a set of like standard questions in each can that every guest has an opportunity to get. And then we have some like specific to you and your businesses. So,
Okay.
what is the craziest either apparel or design request you guys have gotten that you can share?
Sure. So we, maybe 13 years ago, we were, maybe 13 or 14, we were working with a licensee that had Universal. They were also producing products for Hooters. So they came to us and there was a big swimsuit competition. They didn't ask us to make the swimsuits, but they had these incredible like warm-up suits that the young ladies were going to wear before they went out to do whatever they were going to do. And so they asked us to make these custom-made Hooters sweatsuits. Nice. And they only wanted 100 of them. And it was, so that was a very big, to make something custom that small was very difficult. Yeah. So that's probably one of the craziest that off the top of my head, that's a pretty crazy question. Yeah. But that would probably be,
just 100 custom.
100 custom sweatsuits for the swimsuit competition.
There you go. It's a good one. Awesome. Cool. Drop another coin. All right. I think your trend is going to be the fun questions.
Okay.
Let's see. All right. So y'all have been doing business in Wilmington. You said about 30.
No, we've been here since. So we've been in business since '97 as a couple, Michelle and I, and then we've been in Wilmington since 2006.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So you should have some experience in Wilmington. So if you could change a magic wand, if you could wave a magic wand and change anything about Wilmington, what would it be?
Oh,
this could be anything. Business.
It's a tough question. So, obviously we're a small business owner, so we're very aware of expenses and cost and other things, and then we're also property owners, and so I think we had 3 boys that were in school when we moved here, and then they went through school here, and so my biggest concern, just seeing all the development, is we have some team members in our business that are educators or married to educators, and just the lack of resources / funding / infrastructure that's going into the school system. Yeah. So you're going to move in. I mean, you see the population numbers, right? There's maybe another 30,000 people they're estimating that are going to move here. Yeah. And they're building apartments like crazy, but you go to the schools and, yes, there's a few little add-ons here and there, but to truly upgrade the infrastructure here in Wilmington, the hospital, so all of those things that the residents, the people that are invested here, been here for a while, they're watching it happen. And then, if you just moved here, then you don't know. Yeah. But if you've been here for a while, you're like, wow, it's time for another school. But then you look around the county and you're like, where would they even have the land to do it, right? But they do seem to come up with land to put up thousands of apartment buildings. So I'm like, it's kind of crazy how they keep coming up with that land. So if there was one thing, I think that would probably, from my opinion, that would benefit the community the most, is to really rethink the infrastructure for the future generation, especially kids and the education side.
Yeah, I think that's a great one for sure. Awesome.
Okay. Let's see if I can get a 1 here.
Nope. All right. This is an easy one. Why socks?
Great question. So we were scrambling in, as I said, 2008.
Yeah.
And just some of the destination resort business. I mean, when I say it dried up, the financial crisis in 2008 was pretty dramatic. Mm-hmm. And I go back, like our business got rocked very hard in 9/11.
Yeah.
And for that next year, it was, and then also the pandemic. Yeah. So in the last 23 years, there's been 3 pretty big upsets in business. And so we literally were sitting around our old office on 23rd Street, and we came up with a boat ramp. Yeah. Where we were going to do this amazing, like, get a piece of land. Like, we were thinking of all the different types of businesses we could do. Yeah. And so at the time, we had a graphic artist that we were working with who said, Jon, I think this is something that would be really valuable if you could make something USA made. You'd set yourself apart, and then do like a classic 70s 3-stripe sock, like not like everybody else was doing at the time, which at the time sounded great. Yeah. But people in that year and then for really the next 5 years, they weren't ready for a 3-stripe tube sock. Yeah. And so it was definitely the first few years a labor of love. Mm-hmm. Then the tide turned, and all of a sudden the style of sock we were making got very popular. Mm-hmm. And so this last few years, it's definitely been an upswing. But so I would love to tell you there was some amazing like epiphany, but it was really born out of just hardcore brainstorming. Yeah. And then it was not just socks. It was USA made, which was a very difficult thing then, and it's very difficult now. Yeah. And then to try to get it into the 70s and 80s, like a Southern California 3-stripe look. Yeah. So there was some thought to it, but we didn't test it. We just did it. Yeah. And then the market kind of guided us. Yeah. Yes. It took a long time.
Head of the trend.
Okay.
Which isn't a
Thank
bad
you.
place to be. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one way to look at it. We were wondering what was going on for a few years. We're like, why isn't anybody at the wholesale level, the retail level buying? We always had a little online presence. Yeah. And then that's what led to Legacy. We started making people loved our socks, but they're like, can we get our logo on them?
Cool.
And we're like, sure. Yeah. So we started that, and then it turned out that was really a pretty big business. Yeah. And then the brand slowly caught up on the other side. So
it merged together.
It merged, which is neat.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome.
Yes.
All right. Let's see. Okay.
Ooh, that looks like a long one.
It's a long one. Has some build up. So as Wilmington has grown, as the city has grown, there's obviously going to be more opportunities for Wilmington businesses. And that being said, you've definitely worked with some like bigger names and brands and all that good stuff. So I think hopefully that's, more of that's going to come to Wilmington. But what were some of the steps or strategies that you guys took to kind of land those clients in that?
Another great question. So when we went out to create the company, which was Port City Apparel, to really, and then again, we didn't really Google Port City. We named it, and then we incorporated, and then all of a sudden a couple of friends said, you do realize there's like 700 businesses that have the name Port City something. I'm like, there is? And so the good news was we had a good idea and plan. Maybe the naming wasn't as unique as the business. So we had some contacts, and then we brought in some really talented team members that were able to share the manufacturing expertise that we brought to the business. And when we first started, most of our manufacturing was still in Southern California. Cool. And we working with retail brands that wanted super high-end product.
Yeah.
And so we brought that type of thought process and expertise to the branded apparel side of it. So it allowed us just to have a head start over maybe a online business or some of the smaller businesses here. And it's like, as you said, there's a huge opportunity. There are more businesses moving here.
Yeah. And
that means there's more competition, which is also awesome because it just helps everybody continue to, sharpen and get better. So but we had have some very awesome team members that have developed relationships. And we do work with a lot of the bigger businesses, but we have nationwide, we probably close to 1,000 accounts. Cool. And so I'd say probably 60% of our business is in North Carolina, 40% outside.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you feel like from like a sales standpoint, like having team members that like knew how to do that, but also build relationships and like maintain that has been kind of key?
Yeah. I mean, we are constantly training. We're constantly learning. So my wife was a business major, and I was a history English major. Yeah. So I was, and I wanted to play volleyball, which I did. So I was like, okay, I'll teach. Yeah. I'll get my summers off, and it'll be great. Yeah. And then we got into this business a long time ago, so I didn't do any of those things. But I think the most important thing very early on was we had a couple of very strong mentors that, because I didn't have formal business training, they were like, Jon, there's really smart people that you can bring alongside you. You won't meet them, but they're in a book, or they're an author, or there's video series that you can purchase for your business. And so we constantly are training our people, and I go through them with everybody, because each time I go through these, I learn and I get better. And you can get complacent. Yeah. And the only way to continue to grow is to literally continue to grow. Yeah. So we really encourage everybody on the team to participate, and then we're always looking if somebody else is really good at something in our business, we applaud them, we celebrate it, and then we look really closely how they're doing it and say, okay, how would we do that differently for our clients?
Very cool.
So
that's awesome. Sweet. All right, we'll do this last one, and then we'll probably reload it and do one more round.
Ooh, I was on a streak.
Every now and again, one will.
Okay, I'm going way over here.
There's something wrong with that peg.
I'm going way over here.
All right.
Okay, back to the twos.
Back to the twos. Oh. All right. Since you guys are in the apparel business, obviously, how have you seen like apparel trends change? And then do you feel like you have to adjust like your business to that, or is kind of the niche you're in like the classic solids that like last throughout time?
So we would have three, I mean, this is very general. Yeah. I would say they're separated into three different classes of clients. Okay. So if you're a traditional business, we work with Chick-fil-A Supply. So it's the people that supply their locations. We work with the companies that supply other large restaurants groups. They have uniform requirements. Right. So what they don't want to do is change all the time. They want to keep things pretty consistent, and because they have turnover, they don't want to be changing styles out. We would then have like a very large group of auto dealers around the country. They're the same way. They want to make sure their team members are at least in something for a year or 2 years. So they're pretty consistent. Nice. And then we work with a lot of everybody from a coffee house to breweries that are pretty cool, pretty hip. Yeah. And they do want the latest, and they'll see something at a retail store or a boutique, and they'll say, I would like that for my store, or I want that for my brand. So those three different groups, we have to figure out a way to supply them with the blank goods that we're going to embellish. Yeah. And so we work, like, we're unique in the sense that we don't promote one or two blank suppliers. We promote the client. Cool. So if you come to us and say, our company is really looking to be edgy, and we want to be, up there as like, we don't want to be a restaurant or we don't want to be a brewery. We want to look like a real brand. Then we would produce product that would look like that. Cool. Or if you say, I really would like something traditional, we're going to advocate for that, and we'll line up based on price, obviously, but the best options for that. So that is what, like, our formula that has worked really well is listening to the client, finding out which silo they fit in, and then promoting the product and making sure it looks amazing when they get it.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's it is a constant battle to keep, like we were watching this Jordan documentary on the Air Jordan show. Yeah. So my wife and my son wanted to watch it.
Nike.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it.
Yeah, it was cool.
And so I go back and I watch it, and I said to my son, I was like, well, I had a pair in '85, like the first ones, and they were very different. And then I was looking at the documentary, and there's, everybody's wearing these baggies, like MC Hammer was in, and it was like, wow. So I'm old enough to remember all these ebbs and flows. So but anyway, I don't know how I got off on that.
Yeah.
But
no, we watched the documentary. It was like very interesting, just from like brand perspective.
I liked it. I lived a little bit. I mean, like from the outside, I was a very interested observer of the NBA, and then also those personalities. Yeah. And so I watched it, and I wish they would have had a little bit more interaction with Michael, and obviously his father is not around anymore, but just some of his family. So because it's always interesting to me when they have a documentary about somebody and then you see him for 30 seconds. Yeah. Like, well, what did he really think about this? Because it was kind of everybody else's take. So I think what would be really neat would be to be a 2.0 where he's watching it. Yeah. And then stopping it and going, well, this is actually what was going on. Yeah. And just to get his thoughts. Yeah.
That'd be a great podcast.
There you go. Let's get Michael on.
Yeah.
He's from Wilmington.
No big deal. I'm sure he'd love to join us. I'll add him to my celebrity.
He'd want to have a 3 on here, though, so he could get a 23.
Yeah,
He'd be like...
Him and Blake Lively are now our celebrity goals.
Okay. Man, I'm telling you. I'm the Toucan today.
Toucan. All right. This is a fun one, usually. What is your spiciest opinion that most people disagree with? So what's your controversial hot take?
I couldn't even begin because we'd have to cut.
Yeah, every now and then I'm like, remember, this is on the internet. It's about a 30-minute episode.
Is that a serious question?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I can answer that.
Don't get yourself in trouble.
No, I won't.
Yeah, no. I had said I didn't believe we really walked on the moon.
Okay. That's true. We did not.
Thank you.
Yeah, so there's that.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you the one I was going to share, but before I do that, so you remember the video of all of them jumping, one small step. So the dust is coming off their shoes and everything, and then it's floating back down, right? Well, they're in, right? Then if the rocket took off, wouldn't it have created like a dust cloud that would be floating, right? There'd be, so anyway, so there's a studio somewhere in New Mexico that's probably got like the, anyway. So I'll this will be really quick. So, what would happen if I brought a bowl and I gave you a haircut?
Okay.
And I cut your hair, and then I cut everybody's hair in the whole world with a bowl.
Just a bowl cut. I don't know. I probably would look like my brother.
So that's my, so that would be my, how would you ever think everybody could have the same haircut, right?
Yeah.
So then how would you ever treat cancer or anything else with the same drug or anything else? So that's my most controversial thing is if you come with a
one size fits all
solution to any problem, it's going to probably not go well.
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
No, that's a good one.
So, and I'm glad you don't have a bowl cut, but I wouldn't even be able to get a bowl because I So that would be my
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
in some circles, it's amazing. I can't even talk about this because I have to talk about bowl cuts. Yeah. Otherwise, I get in trouble.
Just bowl cuts. Bowl cuts themselves actually should be controversial. But
I would agree.
They need to stay in the 90s.
middle son's going to be very excited that you are not, you totally think the moon was.
So we did that question. My husband and I, Luke, did the first like pilot episode. And by the end, we like Googled like the first round of people who had like landed on the moon. And then I was like feeling bad. I was like, man, I'm like stripping these people of their like life accomplishments, like by this, slim chance they actually did it. And then I felt bad. And then I went back on what I said. And then I was like, no.
Well, I have a friend he was in the military. I mean, he's a smart guy, very smart guy.
He knows his stuff.
And he said, I said to him, how would you get all those people? Because all the people that were in the, Houston, they were all like on the TV with their little pencil ties, and they were, and all the computers were like, remember they had lights, and then you had all the people like that would be where the rocket took, like, and then you had the astronauts themselves, and then you had the like probably somebody in the military that, and so then I'm watching TV like 2 weeks ago, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. came out and said, I have proof the CIA murdered my uncle and my father, and I was like, well, that would probably be hard to keep a secret too, right? So I was like, wow. So I think the moon things, I think you're right. I think it was, so I guess it is possible to keep it a secret.
I guess. Man, I don't know.
Anyway.
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
Probably won't. I feel like you kind of touched on this, but how did you guys get into like the apparel industry?
Another kind of fell in.
Yeah.
So I was, my wife and I both went to San Diego State a long time ago. And I was a volleyball player. She was a student business major. And so when I wasn't playing indoor, I was playing out on the beach. And that was my dream, was I was going to tour and play. And so my senior year, I met this guy who had a little volleyball apparel company in San Diego. And he's like, hey, I'll help you with your plane tickets. And back then they were all like, maybe the top 12 guys were making really good money. And then the bottom 60 were like just eating peanut butter and jelly and sleeping 12 to a room whenever you would travel. It was a lot of fun if you're young. But he said, hey, come work for us. And so I didn't, and I said, I don't know anything about apparel. And so I went to work in this little warehouse down on the border of Mexico and San Diego, a little town called Chula Vista. And he just asked me to help out, whatever I could do. And I didn't have any computer skills. And so I was like, okay. So I went in and I asked him, they said, oh, we'll start in the warehouse, you'll do inventory and everything. And so I really enjoyed the people more than the actual apparel side of it. Yeah. And the people were amazing. And I loved the process. Just like I've worn clothes my whole life, right? But I never saw them start in a roll and then go through the entire process and be sewn. And it was fascinating to me. So that's how I started. Cool. And then when my wife and I literally couldn't get out of the business. Yeah. And then we decided after we got married that we'd start this company. And so, yeah.
Very cool. It's a good little backstory. All right, let's see. See what happens. Fun times. I think one time we did, I don't remember which can it was, but we did empty one of them because it kept landing on the same number.
That's great.
All right, what's your favorite Wilmington, like local go-to place? So it can be food, fun, whatever.
Oh boy. It changes a little bit here and there, but so we'd lived here for a long time. I'm gonna go ahead and give somebody a shout out, just because it's very recent. But we drove by this place on Market Street all the time, and my wife's like, you just would never stop there. Yeah. And then we had a couple friends that said, hey, you should try it. It's this little Italian place called Rosalie's, and I'm like, it looks like it's a little.
Josh is excited about that one.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty. Like I couldn't believe it. It looked like an old fast food place that had been stuccoed over.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
But the chef is in there, like actually there.
Oh, cool.
And the food is amazing. Okay. The portions are amazing. And then just if you don't have a reservation, don't even try. Like I walked up, I'm like, can we get in? And they're like 3 hours later. I'm like, what? I'm like this. And so anyway, so that would be probably one of my, I could name a few others, but my wife's, she loves that place.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. I haven't tried that one. We'll have to put it on the list. Josh, I assume from your reaction, you tried it?
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's you have to take some home, but it's they have I don't know if you like salad, but it's not a salad. It's like a work of, it's amazing, and it's amazing. That's all I'm going to tell you. Okay. And it's you're gonna leave there and go, how did I not like you? How long have you lived here?
My entire life. I was born here.
So you never? Oh my God! See, that's what I said. So we've driven by it for years and years, and we finally tried it. So yeah, it's amazing. You'll love it. Okay, I'm gonna put it on the list. Maybe by the time this episode comes out, I'll can leave my official review in the show notes. All right, we're getting down to. There's only a few left, so we're gonna get down to the. Oh my gosh, they're all tangled together. Okay. Oh, right on time. So this question was added to the can as a standard question after one of our podcast guests suggested it. So instead of a spirit animal, what would you say your spirit food is? The food that best represents the essence of who you are. Ooh, triple berry pie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What are the berries?
Raspberry, boysenberry, and I want to say blackberry.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. With a add alamode, a little scoop of vanilla ice cream.
Yeah. I made a blueberry pineapple like dump cake the other day, and we didn't have any ice cream, and Luke was so sad.
Oh, so
gotta have the ice cream.
Last night I went to get a drumstick, and my wife makes the world's greatest homemade banana splits.
Oh, nice.
And I mean, it's unbelievable.
It's like, how do you make
But
this
she
so
made
good?
it, and so it was like 8:30 last night, and normally I get a smaller one, but last night I don't know what she was thinking. She made this giant one, and so that would be my other go-to would be her banana split. But if I get a fresh triple berry pie with a scoop of vanilla,
money.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Get in a hammock and go to sleep.
Yeah. All right, we'll see if you get a business one this time. So we'll.
It was trying. It was trying.
It was like, oh, do I want to? Man, you might be about to beat our record. Might be time for us to invest in that nice board. Oh,
yes.
The fancy board also has a plexiglass.
To keep it from bouncing out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think you could probably make one of those.
I bet I could.
Yeah, just little.
One day.
You know how the COVID, they were like, they put those little things up everywhere? I think you could get it.
I'm sure someone's probably taking those down. They can just go grab it from like behind their store. We're on to something. Cool. So you're operating, my hair's got stuck in the mic. Operating 3.5 different businesses. Mm-hmm. So what do you feel like has been like the 2 or 3 key things that like makes that possible for you guys to like sustain and be successful?
Sure.
Multiple going on.
Well, first, every day, I actually had this conversation this morning with one of the people that we interviewed. I said, we're excited. Mm-hmm. And so I think if you're an entrepreneur, by nature, you don't just have one idea or two. You probably have more. And then hopefully somebody in your circle's like, well, let's work on these, right? Let's think about that one. So I think the first and foremost thing is you have to be energetic about what you're doing, passionate about what you're doing. And then in my case, I have my amazing, talented, beautiful wife who is like, I don't want to say we're opposites, but we're opposites. Yeah. She's uber organized. She's very thoughtful. She's got everything moving. Yeah. And so we spend all day together, and then we obviously spend the rest of the day together, and then we parent together. So all these things together. So if we weren't on the same page, I think it would be tough. Yeah. And then the energy that we bring is different. So mine is more cheerleading and crazy ideas and how do we get, and then really loving and hugging not just our team but our clients as well. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is you have to have amazing team members who are in the right seat on the bus. Yeah. And if you have somebody in the wrong seat, it makes it tough. And then the third thing is it doesn't matter how passionate you are or how amazing your team is. If you're not in the right business or you're not on the right page, or you're just looking at, you know what I mean? Like they're like half the businesses that open close, maybe more. Yeah. And then, so to sustain a business for a long time, you have to continually, as I said earlier, you have to grow. You have to be willing to be coached. And that goes for me and my team as a whole. Yeah. But then you also have to innovate constantly. So that takes passion too. Yeah. So I think those three components, a team and passion, and then also a good product. Yeah. If you don't have a good product, it's not really going to.
It's not going to work in the long run.
It won't work in the long run. So, yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. Well, thank you for joining us and playing along and sharing your knowledge. We wrap with the same kind of general questions each episode. The first one is, what can people expect from you next? Do you guys have anything you're brewing up? Or
super exciting. Yeah. So we actually, each of the businesses is got growth going on. Cool. So we're the sock companies are going out to some trade shows. We just got back from Outdoor Retailer with Legacy. And then Socco's going to a couple trade shows in September with a whole bunch of, one in New Orleans and one in Chicago. So those are just opportunities for us to meet not just clients, but also fans of the brand. Cool. Port City Apparel is just every day getting more and more connected on socials. Cool. So our big goal there was to actually get noticed. Yeah. And over the last year and a half, we've spent a tremendous amount of time and effort just really putting ourselves out there. And now the phone is, it always rang, but now it rings like incessantly. Nice. Yeah, it's awesome. Great. And then from a growth perspective, we're getting ready to add a couple of team members. Cool. So that's always a challenge. Yeah. And a good one.
Exciting.
We love opportunities. You want to
be adding.
Yeah, we want to be adding. So,
sure.
So very those are some cool things that are coming up.
Awesome. A lot of our listeners are obviously other business owners, which obviously you guys, that's also your client, which is awesome. So for those people, and we'll put this in the show notes as well, so it's easy for people to find. But where is the best way for them to get in touch with you guys?
So for the Wilmington area, I think the most important business that we could share with the community or other business owners would be Port City Apparel. So that's www.portcityapparel.com. Nice. We're local. We're in the North Kerr Business Park, cool. And we are. Like when I say we're open, we love drop-ins. It's easy to find us, Google us. And then we've just that's what's so great is we cross-train everybody. Cool. So if one person isn't there, the next person's ready to greet somebody and meet somebody, and you're always going to be welcomed and treated like a friend. Very cool. So Port City Apparel would probably be the most important business for us to share locally. And then,
Awesome. Well, good. Well, we'll put links to the website and socials on the show notes. So those are easy for everyone to find. Other than that, is there anything else you were hoping to share that we didn't get to in this? Or?
No, I think that you kind of shared earlier a little, what's one of the controversial things. And I think for business in general in Wilmington, this last few years, we worked with a lot of amazing people that were really doing everything in their power to fight through we work with a lot of restaurants and breweries and other things. So the pandemic was a pretty difficult time. Yeah. And so I'm just really excited to see the vibrancy of the community come back, everybody out. We were down for the 4th of July downtown, and it was it was packed. Yeah, and so just super exciting to see that, and then also see some of the corporate moves that are happening. There's people moving here, offices are growing. Yeah. It's exciting. So for the community, it's a great time. And if you look out over the next 10 years, this is going to be a big little town. Yeah. It's growing quickly. Sure. So excited. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us. This was a fun time. Thanks for always playing along with our game. I'm gonna get I'll see what I can do for this. We'll see. If we invest in a better board, we'll invite you back. Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, and I can't wait to watch this. I guess my son's gonna be excited about the moon thing. He's gonna be so excited you brought that up. Good. Tell him to subscribe on YouTube. Okay, I will. Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you.